Welcome to Luxuriously Poor, and thank you for stopping by, and I hope you will watch this video to the end. Now, you guys already know this is my favorite kind of bread. This is just old-fashioned. I love it. It's delicious, made with organic flour. But recently I ran across some information on bread and just how bad store-bought bread really is for us, and the best bread for us is actually sourdough bread. Now, sourdough bread is something that I used to make a long time ago. Okay, many years ago in the year 2000, when the computers were supposedly going to turn over and everybody thought everything was going to shut down, I did a little bit of preparation, not much, and I mean that not much at all, because I in general am pretty much always prepared. But I did do something back then that I stopped doing later. I made a sourdough starter because I said that if things did go bad, if I did want to make a loaf of bread, I'd have a very difficult time of making it if I couldn't get my hands on yeast. But I said if I started myself a starter, well, then I would be able to continue to make bread. And I did make that bread for many years. But I went to work, did other things, and just, bought yeast. But then I read that sourdough breads are really extremely good for you because they're fermented. Well, I decided to pull my book back out where I got my original recipe on how to make sourdough starter, and I thought I would share it with you guys, okay? And what it is right here in a bowl. This is 2 cups of flour, okay? And here I have a half a cup of warm water. Not hot, just warm. In this, I'm going to add 1 package of yeast, but now I don't buy yeast in packets. What I do is I buy it in, co-ops, the restaurant supply places, or Costco doesn't have it, at least not my Costco, but restaurant supply places. And I just add 2 1/4 spoons, 2 teaspoons and 1/4 equals 1 package of dry active yeast that you would buy at the store. And I'm going to sit this in here, okay? Now, it calls for a total of 2.5 cups of water, okay? So, that's what I have, is 2.5 cups of warm water. But I'll put the 1/2 cup in here to dissolve it a little bit. It also calls for 1 tablespoon of honey. Now, what I like about this recipe is you are not going to add anything else. You are not going to have any discard every couple of days, or discard and then add more, and discard today and then add more. It's none of that. You're going to let this sit for 10 days, and you are just going to stir it a couple of times a day. But mark your calendar for 10 days. Stir it 2 to 3 times a day, okay? Now, let me stir this around here a little bit more on the sides. It's pretty much dissolved. I'm going to add it. Oh, you know what? Hold on. I need to get a spoon. Okay, I got my spoon, and what I'm going to do is I have my 2 cups of water here. And then I have my 1/2 cup of water with my yeast in here, which I'm going to add now. It also calls for a tablespoon of honey or sugar. I'm going to use honey. I don't like to use sugar and things, so I'm going to add my honey right here. Let me see. You can see it. Wildflower honey. Okay. I'm going to add a tablespoon of this to this mixture. It This is taking me a little bit of time to do here. I'm holding it up in the air. Okay, now I'm going to add it to it. I don't know if you can see me adding that, but I am. I'm going to use another spoon to get as much of that out of there as I can. Okay. Okay. Now, I am going to stir this together. Okay? Okay. We'll come back when it's stirred and I'll show you what kind of container I'm going to put this in and what I'll do next. Okay, this is what I did here. I took a coffee filter, put it over the top of this, and put a rubber band. Now we're going to stir this 2 to 3 times a day. I'll bring you back on some of the process, but I'm going to mark my calendar so I know that today, what day it is, and I'll let you know how it goes. I've never had problems with this before. It always worked. But I'm going to do it again simply because I have heard that sourdough breads are far better for you because they are a fermented bread. And that makes them far better for you to eat. And this is why I decided I'll do it again. And I thought I would share it with you. Not only that, you won't have to have yeast. Once you get your starter going, that's the end of it. Some people do it without the yeast. I don't. I just follow the original. The Amish do the same thing, so they put yeast in the beginning. Some people even put yeast with their starter, when they're going to make the bread. They'll still put yeast in the bread. They just use the sourdough because it's fermented and it's better for you. But I just use this. I don't use the yeast. So I'm going to let you go for now, but we'll come back and check on this in a few days. Okay, I wanted you to see this. I mean, it has risen all the way up to here. It falls back down. I had to get a much larger container. This is one of my pickle jars a friend of mine gave me. Now, this is something you stir. I have not done this in 24 years, or 23. And so there's some things I just don't remember. I didn't recall it getting, this high. The reason I like this is because there's no pour it off, add flour, pour it off, add flour, pour it off, add flour. That's a lot of waste of flour. With this, the only thing I needed was to start it with yeast. And it's anywhere from 5 to 10 days before it's ready. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is you might want to start this yourself. So that when you see the bread I'm making, you're sitting there going, oh, I wish I could do that. But I don't have a starter. You'll have the starter ready.